I almost didn't make this video, and I mean that, because every year around this time, someone puts out a list of upcoming isekai, throws some trailers together, says, "This looks hype" 14 times, and calls it a day. That's not useful to anyone. What I actually wanted to know, what kept bugging me, was which of these isekai anime coming in 2026 are backed by studios that can deliver, which ones have source material strong enough to sustain a full season, and which ones are going to fall apart 3 episodes in because the production committee clearly didn't care. So, I ranked all of them. Every single one. Starting near the bottom, and look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, some of these exist purely because an algorithm somewhere said, yup, this will get clicks. Coming in at number 20, Easygoing Territory Defense by the Optimistic Lord is your classic city-building slow life show. Guy gets exiled, has useless production magic, uses modern knowledge to turn a wasteland into a thriving village. If you've ever played a base builder game at 2 in the morning instead of sleeping, this is basically that in anime form. It's cozy, it's fine, it is aggressively fine. At number 19, Reincarnated as a Dragon Hatchling drops March 18th. You start as a tiny dragon, you eat things, you evolve through monster trees. It's the spider isekai formula. The appeal is literally just, what cool form do I unlock next? And honestly, sometimes that's enough. Number 18, Hell Mode is currently airing and expanding its dub run through March. This one's for the sickos who unironically enjoy watching someone grind the same mob for 40 episodes because they picked the hardest difficulty on purpose. I respect the commitment, I do not share it. Then there's number 17. The strongest job is apparently not a hero or a sage, but an appraiser. And yes, that is the full title. You already know exactly what this is. Generic guy gets transported to generic grassland, gets a weak appraisal skill that's actually broken, collects a party of attractive non-human women. The community labelled this one before it even aired, and I genuinely cannot argue with them. It premieres April 5th. Studio Flad is handling it. The animation looks functional. That's the nicest word I've got. Now, if you're the type who watches all of these anyway, and you know who you are, no judgment. But let's move into stuff that actually tries to do something interesting. Kicking off the mid-tier at number 16, I became a legend after my 10-year-long last stand. Had me genuinely excited at first. The setup is great. An S-rank sorcerer stays behind alone in a dimensional rift for a decade, fighting the Demon King's army so his party can escape. He finally wins, comes back de-aged, and the world worships him as a dead legend. That dramatic irony? Chef's kiss. The problem is, and this hurt to find out, the source material apparently falls off a cliff after that initial mystery gets resolved. It also got delayed from April to July 2026, which, to be fair, at least means the production committee cares enough to not rush it. So there's that. Moving up to number 15. Hanaori-san Still Wants to Fight in the Next Life is a reverse isekai rom-com where a former demon lord reincarnates as a modern-day shut-in gamer, and the hero who killed him comes back as a high school girl who tracks him down to restart their rivalry. Which obviously turns into romantic tension because of course it does. The character designs from Hikiru Hikawa are genuinely great, and the enemies to lovers dynamic works as a hook. My worry is that reverse isekai shows historically run out of gas fast. Once you've done the fantasy character discovers a microwave bit 3 times, where do you go? Taking the 14th spot, Sasaki and Peeps Season 2 is back, and this show is so unhinged I almost respect it more than I enjoy it. The premise is that a tired, middle-aged salaryman buys a pet bird that turns out to be a reincarnated, ultra-powerful sage. He uses the bird's power to trade goods between Japan and a fantasy world for profit. Oh, and he also gets recruited by the government to fight psychics. And magical girls show up. And there are apocalyptic threats. It's every light novel trope in a blender set to max speed. Tomokazu Sugita absolutely carries this thing with his delivery. The problem is, the tonal whiplash will give you actual neck pain. Number 13, Sentenced to be a Hero, is one I want more people to check out. In this world, becoming a hero is a criminal punishment. Convicts get thrown at demon hordes, and when they die, they get resurrected, but lose pieces of their sanity each time. The main character is a framed holy knight leading a penal unit, basically Suicide Squad style. The themes around state corruption and expendable lives are handled with way more weight than you'd expect. But the early episodes are repetitive, and the world is so relentlessly hostile that it can feel exhausting before the plot actually kicks in. If you can push through volumes 1 and 2, volumes 3 and 4 apparently elevate the whole thing significantly. Sitting at number 12, The Exiled Heavy Knight Knows How to Game the System is for a very specific audience, and you know if you're in it. Guy inherits a trash Heavy Knight class, gets exiled, turns out the class is actually an endgame broken tank build if you know the meta from a previous life. It's literally a min-maxing anime. The catch? Studio Gohans is making it. If you've seen anything Gohans has produced, you know their visual style is, let's say, an acquired taste. Aggressive color grading, swooping camera movements that make you feel seasick, excessive CGI. Some people love it. A lot of people want to throw their monitor out a window. And then rounding out this tier at number 11, an observation log of my fiancée who calls herself a villainess premieres April 6th, and this one genuinely surprised me. It's an otome villainess isekai, but instead of following the reincarnated girl, the entire story is told from the Crown Prince's perspective, as he watches his fiancée try and fail spectacularly to be evil. She keeps accidentally helping everyone. The scriptwriter worked on Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle and Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun, which is an incredible pedigree for comedy. Studio Ashi Productions doesn't exactly scream visual powerhouse, but if the comedic timing lands, this could be a sleeper hit. Actually, let me know in the comments which of these shows you're most curious about. I want to know because some of these could go either way. Alright, here's where things get serious. Breaking into our top 10, at number 10, The Beginning After the End Season 2 lands in April. And this is the one that physically pains me to talk about. The source material is legitimately elite. Turtle Me wrote one of the best web novels in existence. King Grey reincarnated as Arthur Lewin, retaining his tactical genius while navigating a world heading toward a devastating war. The character writing is phenomenal. The political stakes are real. The fanbase is massive and global. And then Crunchyroll and Tapas handed it to Studio ACAT. I am mentally not able to understand this decision. The first season had stilted animation, rough CGI, and directorial choices that completely undermined the emotional weight of key scenes. The author was reportedly misled about the studio's capabilities. And now Season 2 is continuing with the same studio. This IP deserved a top-tier production, and what it got might permanently damage its potential. It's like having a Michelin star recipe and handing it to someone who burns instant ramen. At number 9, Reincarnated as a Sword Season 2 is a much happier story. Teacher and Fran are back for the Floating Island and Seed Run arcs, and the producer literally said each episode is packed with so much action, there's no time to breathe. The father-daughter dynamic between a sentient sword and a former slave trying to break her tribe's curse remains one of the most genuinely heartwarming relationships in the genre. Director Shinji Ishihara teased upgraded CGI and wilder camera work for the large-scale battles, which, honestly, could go either way. Heavy CGI in anime is always a coin flip, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Taking the 8th spot is The Rising of the Shield Hero Season 5. Yes, 5. Listen, I know Seasons 2 and 3 hurt. I was there. We all were. But Season 4 actually course-corrected a lot of the pacing issues, and the production committee clearly listened to feedback. Naofumi remains one of the more pragmatic and believable protagonists in the genre. My ongoing frustration is how badly the anime treats its secondary cast. Characters like Atla and Foal get compressed into nothing. They exist as plot devices rather than actual people. If Season 5 can fix that, this franchise still has legs. Number 7, Saga of Tanya the Evil Season 2 is finally happening after 7 years, and the fact that it leaked through a Canadian animator's social media is so perfectly chaotic for this franchise. Tanya, commanding the 203rd Mage Battalion through an alternate World War Europe, remains one of the most unique settings in all of Isekai. The aerial combat, the military logistics, the philosophical war against a literal god. Nothing else in the genre sounds like this. The concern is that 7 years is a long time. A huge chunk of current anime viewers weren't even watching anime when Season 1 aired in 2017. New director Takayuki Yamamoto replacing the original also introduces creative uncertainty. But man, if they nail it, this could be the comeback story of the year. And sitting just outside the top 5 at number 6, Konosuba Season 4 is confirmed in production for late 2026 or 2027, with a massive 10th anniversary push behind it. New game, live events, audio dramas, the works. The comedy in this show operates on a level that genuinely should not work as well as it does. Kazuma, Aqua, Megumin, Darkness. They are terrible people. They solve world-ending problems entirely by accident while motivated by greed and laziness. and it is consistently one of the funniest things in animation. The catch is these characters can never actually grow. The moment they become competent, mature people, the comedy dies. That's the deal. You accept it, or you don't. I accept it completely. If you're finding value in this breakdown, by the way, a like genuinely helps push this to more people. And if you're not subscribed yet, you're basically watching Isekai without the cheat skill. Fix that. Number 5. The Eminence in Shadow: Lost Echoes. This franchise skips a TV season entirely and goes straight to a theatrical film. Sid Kaganu gets transported to a ruined, apocalyptic version of Japan and fights cybernetic threats and mutated beasts while still completely role-playing as his Shadow Broker persona, utterly oblivious to the fact that everything he does actually matters. The theatrical budget means Studio Nexus can push the visual quality even further than the TV series. Major updates are coming at Anime Japan 2026 on March 29th. Here's my concern though. Sid's comedy works in episodic bursts. Stretching that into a full feature-length film with proper cinematic pacing is a completely different challenge. And the ruined Japan setting, while cool, might stall the broader Shadow Garden storyline that people actually want to see progress. Plus, theatrical releases create a distribution gap for international fans, which could fracture the global conversation that made this franchise blow up in the first place. Still, if the action sequences hit at movie budget quality, this could be spectacular. Number 4. Ascendance of a Bookworm, Season 4, April 4th. And this is where it gets really interesting, because this season moves from Ajiado Animation Works to Wit Studio, the studio behind Attack on Titan's early seasons, Vinland Saga, Spy Family. That is a massive upgrade for a series whose biggest criticism has always been its modest visual presentation. Rosami navigating noble society politics with heavyweight voice actors like Yukari Tamura, Mami Koyama, and Minami Takayama joining the cast. The source material for this arc is considered a masterclass in socio-economic world building and logical character progression. My one real worry is that earlier seasons skipped important connective content and side character development. Wit is going to need to find creative ways to fill those gaps, maybe through flashbacks or a special episode 0 format, without confusing anime-only viewers. But honestly, the sheer upgrade in production pedigree has me more excited for this than almost anything else on the list. Number 3. That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Season 4. 60 episodes, 5 cores, 15 months of continuous broadcast starting April 2026. I had to read that 3 times to believe it. This is covering potentially volumes 10 through 23 of the light novel, including the war against the Eastern Empire and Rimuru ascension toward basically godhood, plus a theatrical film called Tears of the Azure Sea running alongside it. The advantage is obvious. No more rushed adaptations, no more cramming entire arcs into 12 episodes. The franchise will dominate market conversation for over a year straight. The disadvantage is equally obvious. Studio 8-bit has to maintain animation quality across 60 episodes. That is a logistical nightmare that almost no studio in the industry can pull off without severe dips. And Slime's historical tendency toward extended political meeting scenes, the boardroom isekai reputation, could test audience patience when stretched across that many episodes. But the sheer ambition of this commitment is undeniable. Number 2. Mushoku Tensei: Jobless Reincarnation, Season 3. Studio Bind exists because of this show. They were literally founded to make this adaptation. Season 3 arrives April or July 2026, and covers Rudius's transition into full adulthood, with geopolitical conflicts and confrontations against the most powerful entities in the world's hierarchy. When this show is firing on all cylinders, nothing in the genre touches it. The world building is the most detailed and visually realised I've ever seen in Isekai. The Hydra fight in Season 2's second half was genuinely industry-leading animation. The directorial team, including talent from Tengoku Daimakyo and Psycho Pass, is incredible on paper. But I need to be honest about something that's been bugging me. Studio Bind is spreading thin. Key animators have left. Resources are going to other projects like Onimai and the newly announced Ruri no Houseki. The first half of Season 2 had a visible and widely discussed drop in visual quality. If that trend continues into Season 3, we're looking at S-tier source material getting a B-tier visual treatment. Animation producer Fukushi's ability to pull in elite freelance talent will literally determine whether this season lives up to its potential. Also, light novel readers have been vocal about significant content being cut from the adaptation, which matters more and more as the story's connective tissue becomes critical to understanding the larger world. I'm still putting it at number 2 because the ceiling is the highest in the genre, but the floor has gotten lower than I'm comfortable with. Number 1. ReZero, Starting Life in Another World, Season 4, April 2026. And honestly, was it ever going to be anything else? This show does something that almost nothing else in the isekai genre even attempts. It actively punishes its protagonist for being an isekai protagonist. Subaru's hero complex, his savior mentality, his desperate need to be needed. The show builds all of that up and then systematically tears it apart and forces him to confront what's underneath. The relationship dynamics aren't comfort food, they're diagnostic tools. Rem feeds into his manufactured self-image, Emilia challenges it, and Return by Death isn't a power fantasy. It's a psychological torture device that the narrative treats with the gravity it deserves. Studio White Fox has historically gone above and beyond for this property. Extended episode runtimes, cutting openings and endings to fit more story. Genuine passion from the production staff that you can feel in the finished product. Early promotional material for Season 4 looks exceptional. Structural. Arcs 5 and 6 of the source material are incredibly dense. If they need to split the season across multiple broadcast windows, and given what happened with Season 2's pandemic delays and the staff exodus that created Studio Bind, there's precedent for disruption. The show also asks a lot of its audience emotionally. There's a line between meaningful suffering that drives character growth and gratuitous misery, and the directorial team needs to walk that line carefully. But when ReZero hits, when it really hits, nothing in this genre comes close. Nothing. Before I let you go, a few rapid-fire mentions for stuff that's rumoured or stuck in limbo. Overlord Season 5 is effectively confirmed to happen eventually, but it's waiting on the final light novel volumes to be published. Realistically, late 2027 or 2028. Black Summoner Season 2 hasn't been announced, but its streaming numbers were strong enough that it's probably a matter of when, not if. Farming Life in Another World and Skeleton Knight in Another World both have merchandise leaks suggesting late 2026 returns. Lord of the Mysteries, technically a Chinese donghua, is dropping a 1-hour special in summer 2026 that blends Lovecraftian horror with Victorian steampunk isekai. Keep an eye on this one, it's genuinely different. And No Game No Life Season 2 was leaked in early 2025, went massively viral, and was immediately debunked by the original author. The fact that a fake leak generated that much global conversation tells you everything about how much untapped demand still exists for legacy isekai properties. So that's every anticipated isekai anime of 2026 ranked. The genre is bifurcating hard. The top end is investing more money and ambition than ever. The bottom end is still pumping out algorithmic content at full speed. And the middle is where the most interesting creative risks are happening. Now, if you want to find shows that skip the slow build-up entirely and hook you from the very first episode, go watch this video right here. 10 hidden anime that hook you from episode 1. I'll see you there.